This year is 21XX, and from orbit, Earth is a scarred, crimson wasteland. Above the ruins of a city, a mysterious caped individual rides a fighter jet, his silver-haired pursuer closing in on his target with a confident smirk. Descending like a meteor, he plummets towards the ground below, while on the desolate streets, a lone survivor catches his breath, completely unaware. Suddenly, the young man sprints through the rubble, desperately calling out for anyone. His voice cracking with terror as he screams into the empty, ruined city. But his cries only attract the wrong kind of attention as a hulking beast appears. Before he can even react, a second reptilian creature emerges from the dust. Knocked to the ground, he finds himself completely cornered, pleading for his life. In his absolute desperation, he screams for any savior, anyone at all, clutching a shattered photo of his lost family, his only reason to survive. And he glares at the very monsters that destroyed his world and took everything. A final thought echoes in his mind, a promise to his family to get revenge. Just as a streak of blue light descends, the silver-haired hunter arriving to intervene. Exhausted and on the ground, Survivor 16 apologizes for taking so long to be found. Before him stands a powerful, silver-haired figure, a savior emerging from the ruins. His calm, piercing eyes survey the devastation with a heavy, unspoken resolve. Overcome with relief, the survivor weeps, finally seeing a glimmer of hope. He believes this is the moment humanity can finally reclaim their shattered world, and the mysterious man offers a comforting hand, seemingly agreeing with his sentiment, telling the grievously wounded survivor that his long struggle can finally be over. With his last breath, the young man whispers his gratitude, clutching his rescuer's coat, then collapses at the man's feet, his life fading away in the desolate rubble. This silver-haired warrior stands in silence, a moment of solemn respect for the fallen. Suddenly, a voice on comms from a man named Kagura confirms they did not make it in time, who coldly states that this was the last survivor and their mission is a failure, urging the warrior Jin to accept the grim reality of their situation, that humanity, as they knew it, is completely and utterly finished. This cause of this apocalypse is revealed, monsters born from pollution and sudden mutation. A new enemy is revealed, emerging from a dark portal, the corruptors. These monsters possess incredible regenerative abilities, easily overwhelming human soldiers, their resilience so absolute that even nuclear weapons are utterly useless against them, forcing humanity into desperate human experimentation just to create a countermeasure. But the scientist laments their efforts, claiming there is no one left to save anymore. Collapsing in despair and believing they were simply too late to change anything. His companion, the white-haired man, disagrees, insisting someone still needs saving. Yet when asked if there are survivors, his answer is a surprising and definitive no. He clarifies his true mission is not for the present, but for the future, revealing the nanomachines he created are also meant to repair the ravaged environment. These machines are designed not only to halt the corruptor's regeneration, but they also actively work to restore the planet's devastated ecosystem. This white-haired man envisions a future where the planet will regain its former beauty, and from the ashes, a new civilization as prosperous as humanity will rise once more. His partner, however, remains unconvinced, calling this grand vision a pipe dream. This researcher watches his subject depart, accepting a dangerous possibility without hesitation. For the silver-haired man, even the tiniest possibility was always enough to act, a power that might be needed in the future, kept deep within a sterile facility. Inside the lab, he observes the subject floating in a stasis tank, a weapon for tomorrow. His entire hope resting on this one maybe, a desperate gamble to save the world. And to preserve that chance, he makes a critical decision, activating the cold sleep protocol. Time begins to blur as monstrous creatures emerge across a desolate, red-skied landscape, this planet's new inhabitants evolving into even more terrifying and powerful forms, until the Earth itself transforms into a scorched red wasteland over hundreds of years. After 874 years, colossal beasts now stalk the crumbling ruins of human civilization, with thousands of years ticking by as new, horrifying species claim the shores. Nearly 18,000 years later, the planet is ravaged by continent-sized hyperhurricanes, and after 56,000 years, a brutal food chain is established among the Titans, this struggle for survival proving endless as even the mightiest creatures eventually fall, until after 250,000 years, the world finally grows silent. After eons pass, the nanomachines succeed, restoring Earth to its vibrant blue state. And new life flourishes across the rejuvenated landscape, a world reborn without humanity. A billion years later, the cold sleep protocol finally deactivates, its long mission complete. Suddenly, a young person sprints through a dark corridor, their footsteps echoing desperately. This runner is a young woman with animal ears, her face pale with absolute terror, as she and her companions are hunted by a monstrous, red-eyed reptilian beast. In disbelief, she stops, recognizing something unbelievable in this desolate place. Her friend tries to pull her away, warning they will die, but she insists he is really there. Clutching a key on her necklace, her fear turns into a sudden, steely resolve. Her eyes locking onto her destination, her mind set on finding the guardian god. They arrive before a massive sealed gate, certain their only hope lies within. With all her strength, the young woman pushes against the ancient, unmoving stone door. But looking up, they realize it is a dead end, their path blocked by a massive grate. Despair washes over her face as she understands they are completely and utterly trapped. At that moment, the pursuing monster looms over them, ready to end their desperate flight. In a dark cell, a young girl with animal ears desperately pleads for help. Her desperate cries echoing through the chamber, begging a guardian god to save them. And a calm voice responds from the darkness, granting their wish as the stasis pod shatters. Suddenly, a brilliant beam of green light erupts from the pod, startling the young onlookers, their faith rewarded as the girl reassures her friends it was worth believing. From the shattered remains of the pod, a man steps out onto the cold floor. Jin, the silver-haired warrior, awakens from his long sleep, contemplating the future he now faces. Just as Kagura planned, he finds a storage box containing his old clothes. Accessing a nearby terminal, he confirms the unbelievable truth: 100 million years have passed. While most of the data is corrupted, he considers it a miracle the facility even survived. This preservation thanks to the nanomachines dispersed in the air, a testament to their design. His only guide now a memory module left by Kagura, a final gift from the past. But before anything else, he turns to the children, asking to hear their story first. Completely unfazed by his own nudity, he remarks he has been this way for 100 million years. A fist clenching as he feels his own body again, remarking how right it feels. After Ian's in stasis, Jin finally awakens, believing he looks exactly as he should. And the massive doors to his cryogenic chamber grind open, revealing the world outside. Stepping into the blinding light, he is greeted by three strange, beast-like children cowering before him. His eyes widen in disbelief at the impossible sight, a world completely reborn. He gazes upon a lush, vibrant landscape, the Earth after 100 million years. A small girl with pointed ears tugs on his coat, calling him a guardian god. Then urges him to follow them, leading the way into the dense, unfamiliar forest. Jin watches with a sharp, analytical gaze, trying to process this impossible new reality. As the girl wonders how he can be human since they went extinct eons ago, her companions speculate he is a new species that evolved to resemble ancient humans, but she theorizes their human-like traits are a result of the ancient nanomachines. Their shared language is proof enough, confirming the project's long-term influence on evolution. So he introduces himself as Jin, and the girl replies her name is Hakama Phil. Her friends Dampo and Shandy also present themselves to the strange newcomer, and as Phil leads him by the hand, Jin asks what she wants from him now. This young girl begs him to defeat the corruptor, a name he knows all too well, while her companion freezes in absolute terror at the mere mention of the word. In the distance, they see their entire village engulfed in smoke and flames. These children sprint towards the chaos, desperately screaming for their parents, but Jin simply watches them go, analyzing the unfolding situation. He notes the primitive wooden barricades that failed to protect them, and the simple wooden buildings now being consumed by the inferno, confirming his suspicion that this civilization is not very advanced. Suddenly, the girl stops dead in her tracks, her face filled with horror. An elderly woman bravely fights a monster, holding its massive jaws apart with a spear, who screams at the children, demanding to know why they return to the danger. Jin's eyes narrow as he finally gets a clear look at this era's corruptor. It is just a regular monster to him, but he is surprised they use the same name. Refusing to flee, the girl, Hakana, unleashes a strange power, vowing to save her grandma. And this unexpected reaction prompts Jin to leap into action to investigate. In a flash of silver and black, Jin intercepts the monster's jaw-snapping attack. Effortlessly, he scoops the elderly woman into his arms, moving her out of harm's way, then signals for Hakama to unleash her power from above, giving her a clear shot. This young girl channels her energy, forming a swirling orb of destructive fire, launching the concentrated blast directly at the reptilian creature's head. It connects with a massive explosion, sending the monster reeling back from the impact. As the beast falls, Jin confirms its regeneration is completely inhibited by the nanomachines. Wondering how she can control them when only compatible humans from his time could, he asks the elder if this power is common, but she explains it is incredibly rare. This holy power, as they call it, is what Jin now understands as nanomachine control. Hakama rushes to her grandma, relieved to hear the other villagers were evacuated in time. But the old woman immediately scolds the children for returning to the destroyed village. With a heavy heart, she declares their home is completely lost, beyond saving. Her warning grows even more dire, revealing the corruptor they just defeated was nothing. It was only a newborn larva, hinting at a far greater threat lurking nearby. This elder warns them the main corruptor is far too powerful for them to handle, and that swarms of its larval offspring are about to flood the entire village. A spiky-haired warrior tells the old woman not to lose her nerve now. This man, Sauls, confidently declares he will slaughter the smaller creature himself. She asks about the other villagers, learning they have been safely evacuated to a shelter. But another man expresses his worry for Hakama, asking where she had been. Her grandmother realizes she went to the forbidden sealed door and scolds her fiercely. So Hakama explains she was following an old legend about a guardian god. This old woman stares at Jin in disbelief, questioning if he is that legendary figure. She notes that he certainly does not look like any kind of god she imagined. Sauls immediately scoffs at the notion, finding the whole situation ridiculous. He then mocks Jin's appearance, calling him a lesser species unworthy of being a god. But his younger brother Dampo runs to his side, insisting Jin is their savior. Sauls dismisses this, pointing out Jin's lack of animal features as proof of his inferiority. He tries to brush them off until Hakama declares their god already defeated a corruptor. A cocky young warrior named Sauls dismisses the threat, boasting he could kill it instantly. but Jin steps forward with a cold glare, ready to lay down the law. Sauls immediately confronts him, declaring this a village matter for his kind only, then turns his back, ordering the ancient human to stay out of their fight. Announcing his intent, Sauls marches off alone to slay the massive corruptor, glancing back with a smirk and telling the others to just cower in fear. This elder woman laments his foolishness, knowing he is running straight to his death. Jin simply watches the scene unfold, his expression completely unreadable. Turning to him, the grandmother begs Jin to escort the children to safety. But Hakana refuses to run, vowing to follow Sauls and risk everything. To everyone's shock, Jin flatly denies the grandmother's desperate request. With a determined look, Hakana insists that she has her own pride to uphold. Jin clarifies he will not let some punk insult him and then get himself killed. As in the distance, the true corruptor finally emerges from the dark waters. Its massive armored form rises from a swirling abyss, ready for destruction. A young warrior with blue hair confronts a reptilian beast, calling it out directly, crackling with blue lightning as he declares his destiny is to become a holy knight. Believing a corruptor like this is an enemy he can defeat all on his own, and with a powerful leap he soars through the air to deliver a decisive blow. But suddenly a massive, one-eyed worm-like creature emerges from the murky depths, launching smaller, orb-like projectiles that rain down from above, complicating the fight. And the young warrior finds himself surrounded by smaller reptilian beasts, a dark spire looming behind them. Carving a path through them with his lightning-infused spear, he screams for them to move, his focus returning to the primary target as he promises to end it in a single strike. Hurling his spear with incredible force, a blur of blue energy aimed right at the beast. And the weapon finds its mark, piercing directly through the corruptor's head. A confident smirk spreads across his face, certain the battle has finally been won, while the massive creature thrashes wildly in the water, impaled by the glowing spear. But the grievous wound on its head begins to seal itself, regenerating at an impossible rate. His victory cut short by disbelief as he realizes the monster is healing before his eyes. This arrogant warrior, Sauls, finds himself overwhelmed by a larval corruptor's brutal attack. He braces for the final blow, but the monster's claw suddenly stops just inches away. Jin stands behind him, casually halting the attack with a hexagonal nanomachine shield, and Sauls turns in disbelief, enraged that the man he insulted just saved his life. This ancient human stands over the creature, completely unfazed by the entire situation. Surprised to find the corruptor is still alive after taking Hakuma's earlier blast, so with a simple flick of his finger he prepares to end it for good, unleashing a concentrated beam of energy that completely vaporizes the creature's head. Staring at the headless corpse, Sauls calls for his grandmother and the others to hurry, watching as the rest of the villagers rush towards the scene, drawn by the commotion. This elder and her companions stare in utter shock at the impossible sight before them, wondering what in the world could have possibly just happened out on the water. Their eyes fall upon Jin, who is effortlessly holding the main corruptor's head with one hand, and he glances back at Sauls, casually remarking that it is time for them to retreat. Without waiting for a reply, Jin grabs the stunned warrior and begins pulling him to safety. Just as Sauls is about to be devoured, a hand yanks him back from the brink. Jin effortlessly plucks the arrogant warrior out of the air, saving him from certain death, leaving Sauls to stare up in utter shock, demanding to know who this stranger is. Jin explains that these corruptors simply regenerate any damage they take, and that only nanomachines can truly inhibit their incredible healing abilities. He clarifies that this holy power the villagers speak of is just nanomachine control. Admitting Sauls' attack was strong but ultimately too shallow to be effective. This revelation makes the young warrior question if Jin is the legendary guardian god, but Jin dismisses the title, ready to address Sauls' earlier insults, reminding the boy how he claimed this was a problem for his village alone. Before Sauls can even argue, Jin cuts him off with a single sharp word, wrong. Turning to face the massive beast, he declares this corruptor is now his problem. As the monstrous creature lets out a deafening roar, ready for a real fight. With that, Jin charges across the water, dodging massive tendrils lashing out at him, his eyes narrowing with cold focus as he plans his first move, to pin it down. Jin gracefully dodges a massive fiery claw swipe from the beast, while the corruptor thrashes in the water, roaring in fury after the failed attack. And Sauls cries out that these monsters are a product of their own foolishness. But Jin's fist clenches, crackling with a brilliant blue nanomachine energy, declaring that as a human from that ancient past, this is his responsibility. He gathers a swirling orb of power, vowing to be the one to end it all. Sauls looks on in defiance, admitting he does not understand but still believes he can win, as Jin reflects on humanity's long history of creating weapons for war, remembering a species defined by endless conflict and technological advancement, whose gruesome and bloody past was filled with scientific ambition. This history of unthinkable tragedy is something he carries with him, so as their final human, he unleashes the full might of his power, catching the roaring corruptor completely off guard with the sudden assault. This devastating beam of pure energy tears through the air towards its target, engulfing the massive beast in a blinding explosion of destructive force. This villagers watch in utter disbelief at the overwhelming display of power. Hakama Phil gazes up at him with pure adoration, her heart completely won over. As Jin explains how a final weapon was fired from orbit, a cataclysmic beam striking the planet, its impact creating the very landmass they now stand upon, a remnant of the old world. And the revelation leaves Saul's completely speechless, unable to comprehend such ancient technology. For Jin holds up the memory module, revealing it was humanity's final scientific weapon, a tool of immense power he now wields with a confident, almost chilling smirk. With the explanation over, Jin turns his attention back to the present situation, while from the bushes a hidden observer notes she came to investigate a corruptor, but instead witnessed an unbelievable feat beyond even the Holy Knight's captain. This shocking development forces her to change plans, realizing she must report back, deciding to return to the capital and inform the guildmaster of what she has seen. Later that night, a voice from the past calls out to Jin through the quiet forest. Activating the memory module, he sees a hologram of a man who states he is long gone, who then smirks, admitting he always wanted to make such a dramatic entrance. This hologram asks Jin about the future, hoping the world's environment has finally recovered, but he quickly gets to the point, revealing a serious problem that still remains, explaining that even with a healed planet, the corruptors would never truly die out. Jin listens with a grim expression, absorbing the weight of this ancient warning, as the scientist recalls first sensing something was wrong 1,000 years into Jin's slumber. He reveals that he also used cold sleep, waking periodically to watch the world change. And for a time, as the environment healed, the number of corruptors did steadily decrease. A satellite view from orbit confirming the initial success of their plan, until a new kind of threat was spotted on the surface, standing over its kill. This was an evolved corruptor, a humanoid being radiating a dark and powerful energy. For as the world changed, the scientist explains the corruptors began to evolve with it, creating unpredictable new threats with unknown abilities and immense power. His only solution was to alter the new life forms, giving them a fighting chance against the monsters. And as a final measure, he left a portion of that power behind just for Jin, leaving our hero to stare at the memory module, now understanding its true purpose. This hologram holds up a glowing syringe, asking if this is what Jin was looking for, clarifying that the nanomachines themselves will instruct Jin on how to use the device. This power is a gift only Jin can wield thanks to his body's perfect compatibility. Jin stares down at his own hands, which begin to glow with a strange energy. A gleaming knife materializes from a swirling vortex of energy in his palm, demonstrating his new ability to generate objects by reshaping the nanomachines. This man reveals he hid these kinds of power-ups in research labs all over the world, a strategic move to prevent the corruptors from destroying everything in a single attack. He also admits a more personal reason. He wanted Jin to travel the world himself, because he could not predict what kind of threat the corruptors would become in the future. But even with that uncertainty, he hoped for a better world now patrolled by knights. A world far different from the one he left behind, as someone runs through the woods, and a cheerful girl with glasses shows the hope for a much brighter future. This scene transitions to a peaceful town built around a central well and canal, where inside a grand library a studious blonde woman reads intently. This hologram tells Jin to enjoy this new world he has woken up to, adding with a bittersweet smile that he unfortunately will not be able to see for himself how everything turns out in the end. Jin listens to the final words from the past, his expression somber, as the man entrusts him with watching over the world in his stead. With the message over, Hakama and Danpo rush to his side, calling him guardian god, explaining that everyone in the village has been searching for him. His children pull him along, insisting he is the guest of honor for the celebration. But a thoughtful look crosses Jin's face as he glances down, his eyes suddenly locking onto a familiar-looking key around Hakama's neck. He stops and asks her directly where she managed to get that pendant, and she explains it is a family heirloom passed down for generations, a charm meant to guide the guardian god, which makes Jin smirk in understanding. As they lead him back, Danpo admits he has been relying on Jin for everything, arriving to find the entire village celebrating their salvation around a massive bonfire. As the villagers gather around a bonfire, a voice urgently calls them over, their attention turning to Jin as he arrives with the children sparking whispers about the guardian god. A skeptical warrior smirks in disbelief, still seeing him as nothing but a lesser species. Saul's glares as the other men laugh, openly questioning if such a scrawny man won the fight, their mockery echoing through the camp as Jin quietly observes the scene. But one of the younger warriors leaps to his feet, calling them cowards for running away, and even Saul's completely changes his tune, now praising the awesome guardian god. Just then, the village elder approaches, finally getting a moment to speak with him. She offers a formal thanks on behalf of everyone for saving their lives, acknowledging that without him, their home would have been completely destroyed. Jin simply smiles, telling them there is no need for any kind of repayment. But he does have one request if they insist. He wants information, not rewards. He specifically asks to know about the current state of the world, puzzling the leader, so the elder advises that for such knowledge he must travel to the royal capital, a distant, sprawling city where the king rules and information from across the land converges. This elder explains villagers travel to the capital to sell their specialty silkworm goods. And though the road is harsh, she has faith in him, but Jin admits he does not know the way. So she offers Hakama as his guide, revealing the girl has her own business there. Hakama is meant to attend a special academy in the capital to develop her holy power, a plan the elder intends to see through, but just as Jin processes this, a voice cuts in. Sauls proudly declares that he should be the one to guide the guardian god. But the elder dismisses him until he reveals his plan to join the Holy Knights. She scoffs at the idea, reminding him he could not even pass the Academy's entrance exam. Revealing that holy power alone is not enough, there is also a difficult written test. Hakama quietly explains to Jin that Saul simply failed because he is an idiot, which makes Jin ponder, his curiosity now piqued by the mention of these holy knights. Meanwhile, a knight in a forest clearing asks for confirmation about the defeated corruptor, and the hidden observer from before confirms the news, stating she is reporting to the guildmaster. He is stunned, admitting he rushed there thinking it was a threat no single knight could handle, while the girl seems just as surprised, realizing she has just run into a holy knight out here. Elsewhere, a cheerful girl in a red cap laughs about a coincidence as a corruptor looms. Just then, a blonde knight in shining armor leaps to her defense, his blade a blur of light, felling the beast in a single strike as he considers the girl's interesting story, and with a smirk he decides he must meet this powerful individual for himself. This scene shifts to the peaceful village nestled in a sun-drenched, vibrant green valley, where Jin awakens to a new day, taking a moment to appreciate the fresh air. He marvels at the breathtaking landscape, a sight he never thought he would see, wishing aloud that someone named Kagura could have witnessed this beauty too. Behind him, young Dampo stands quietly, addressing him as the guardian god, holding out a fresh set of clothes and politely asking him to get dressed. Fully prepared, Jin begins his journey out of the village alongside Hakama and Danpo, as the elder gives Hakama a final reminder of her duty as his guide. Saul scoffs at the idea of learning anything, earning a sharp rebuke from Danpo, but Jin turns to the young warrior, offering a surprising compliment on his fighting skills, leaving Saul's completely stunned as Jin says he will be waiting for him in the capital. A villager entrusts Hakama to Jin's care as the others cheer them on, sharing a heartfelt goodbye with the young girl and telling her to stay healthy. And with a final wave to the grateful villagers, Jin and Hakama set off on their journey. These two begin their long walk towards the royal capital, leaving the village far behind, following a winding path alongside a sparkling river that cuts through the lush landscape. Their travels take them through breathtaking scenery, pausing for a moment by a cascading waterfall, with Hakama eagerly pointing the way forward as they venture deeper into the world. That night, by the warmth of a campfire, she asks how much further they have to go, learning it is only 4 more days on foot, a shorter trip than Jin had anticipated. Hakama then questions why he is so interested in learning about the state of the world, but Jin just smirks mysteriously, telling her his reasons are a secret. In his mind, however, he recalls the scientist's chilling warning that the corruptors would never die out. A grim fact proven by their continued and terrifying existence in this new era. Yet they were only supposed to thrive in polluted lands, not the pristine environments he has seen, leading him to a grim conclusion as his hand glows with power. Something has fundamentally changed. Hakama notices Jin's grim expression by the fire, but he brushes it off as just thinking, finding some relief that humanity has managed to survive and rebuild in this new era. His first priority, however, is learning how these people actually fight the corruptors, and he asks Hakama to drop the formal titles, preferring she just call him Jin. Suddenly, the sound of galloping horses shatters the quiet of the forest, putting both of them on alert as they look up from the campfire. A blond man in shining armor politely apologizes for the intrusion, arriving with 2 other riders and asking for a moment of their time. His pointed ears and authoritative presence suggest he is no ordinary traveler, but Jin remains completely unfazed, demanding to know who he is. This knight introduces himself as Argus Wilton, captain of the royal capital's Holy Knights, a title that makes Jin realize these are the defenders the scientist spoke of. One of Argus's companions, a woman with animal ears, seethes with rage, exploding at Jin for his disrespectful posture and demanding he stand for her captain. Argus, however, calmly silences his subordinate, confirming that Jin is exactly who they sought. Argus politely requests a word, his calm demeanor hiding a clear agenda. Standing his ground, Jin questions what the knight captain meant by definitely the ones. This captain deflects, instead demanding to know their origin and destination. A startled Hakama quickly answers they are from Kodama village and traveling to the capital. Hearing this, the female knight with animal ears flashes a triumphant, predatory grin, and she leaps from her horse, certain she has caught them in a lie. She furiously declares there are no birth records for lesser species in that village, which makes Jin realize just how tightly this country monitors its people. But Argus calmly shuts his subordinate down, correcting her flawed logic, explaining that Hakama's clothes are a rare, high-quality fabric unique to Kodama village. He adds that children's garments like hers almost never appear on the market, proving her identity. However, his hand tightens on the hilt of his sword as the interrogation continues. His attention shifts solely to Jin, pointing out that he is the anomaly here. This captain then questions the origin of Jin's strange, unfamiliar attire, revealing that bandits have been using children to attack travelers on this very road. Argus coldly compares Jin to a corruptor, one that feigns weakness before launching a deadly attack. Hakama frantically denies the accusation, but Argus coldly retorts that they will be the judge of that. Gritting her teeth in defiance, Hakama prepares to defend herself against the knight's aggression, unleashing a surge of holy power that crackles around her like brilliant teal lightning. Jin calmly observes her display of power, his eyes analyzing the situation unfolding before him. As she warns the knights not to make a move, preparing a volley of golden energy projectiles, this display of power catches Argus's attention, who remarks that she is quite promising, and Jin finally gets a glimpse of the true nature of these so-called holy knights. Argus, however, looks past the girl, sensing Jin's immense and hidden strength. He points his blade directly at Jin, demanding to know where he came from, with the threat that the wrong answer will mean his immediate execution. Jin remains completely silent, his gaze cold and utterly unimpressed by the threat. This knight repeats his demand, his sword steady as his patience clearly begins to wear thin. He repeats the threat, ready to strike Jin down where he stands. But Jin simply stares back, his expression a mixture of boredom and utter contempt. Jin stares back with cold, unwavering eyes, completely unfazed by the knight captain, while Argus studies him intently, his own gaze sharp and calculating. With a smirk, Jin reveals he is simply from Kodama village, a direct answer to their questions. But the animal-eared knight immediately explodes, calling his claim an outrageous lie. Her captain, however, calmly accepts the statement, much to his subordinate's confusion, and turns to Hakama for confirmation, asking if what the man says is true. She nervously confirms it, revealing Jin is the village's revered guardian god. A title that seems to click for Argus, who now looks at Jin with newfound understanding. With the misunderstanding seemingly cleared, Jin confirms their business here is finished, so Argus apologizes for his team's rudeness, shocking his furious subordinate. Learning they're both headed to the capital, the knight captain predicts they are bound to meet again, even offering to make amends by helping Jin if he ever finds himself in trouble. As the knights prepare to depart, the angry subordinate questions her captain's decision to back down, leaving Jin with a thoughtful expression as he watches them ride away into the night. This holy knights gallop off, their abrupt departure leaving more questions than answers. This animal-eared knight continues her furious rant, calling Jin nothing but a suspicious lesser species. Argus quietly considers her insult, the term lesser species echoing thoughtfully in his mind. Turning to his subordinate, he questions who the truly lesser one is in this situation. To her companion's shock, the teal-haired knight smirks in complete agreement with their captain. She then elaborates that Argus has a very good reason for his cryptic comment. In a flashback, Jin sits calmly as the knight asks if her comrade felt his immense power. Argus reveals he actually tried to make a move on Jin 3 separate times. A memory showing him with his sword drawn, ready to test the mysterious man. But his hand trembled on the hilt of his blade, a strange hesitation taking hold. At that very moment, a subtle power began to glow from Jin's clenched fist, and the captain admits Jin reacted before he could even begin, completely outmaneuvering him. His teal-haired companion asks if he used his holy power, which Argus confirms he tried to, leaving the animal-eared knight stunned that he could not even manage to activate it. He then adds that when he tried the same on Hakama, the spirits refused to lend their strength, and both women stare in disbelief, finally understanding the incredible implication of his words. Argus explains the massive gap in holy power between them and Jin, stating that among all the knights, only the Grand Captain could possibly match him. His companions are left completely speechless by this staggering revelation, and the animal-eared knight admits she could not sense his immense power at all. This captain reassures his new recruit, explaining Jin was simply on a level far beyond them. His teal-haired companion then connects Jin to a corruptor reported in Kodama village, but Argus decides to leave him be for now, judging him not to be a threat. With Jin heading to the capital anyway, they must return, leaving the bandit problem to the guild. He then lectures his subordinate to value character over strength, earning a quiet apology. As they ride towards the capital, Argus ponders the title Guardian God of Kodama village, thinking that if Jin could be convinced to become an ally, he might be the key to solving the country's greatest problems. This next day, Hakama asks Jin if all knights are as strong as Argus. But Jin clarifies that Argus is one of the very best among an already elite group. She marvels at his spirit arts, a term that leaves Jin completely bewildered. As they walk, Hakama explains holy power is simply borrowing strength from spirits to perform spirit arts, and Jin connects the dots, realizing these people mistake his advanced nanomachines for mystical spirits, concluding that in this new era, science has simply become the new form of fantasy. This animal-eared knight's insult about him being a lesser species still echoes in his mind, prompting him to ask Hakama what the term actually means, piquing her curiosity, and she confirms that there are indeed many different races coexisting in this world. She elaborates that some races resemble fish while others look more like insects, recounting a story from her grandmother about how people were once confined to specific regions, leading to their bodies slowly adapting to suit the unique environments they inhabited. This concept of humanity evolving to adapt to new environments clicks into place for Jin, which means there were indeed survivors from his time and these races are their descendants. Setting the thought aside, he then asks about those who did not adapt, the so-called lesser species, and she clarifies that compared to the adapted races, these people are considered weaker and less capable. A dark realization dawning on Jin as he understands this prejudice leads to them being sold as slaves, but Hakama passionately objects, insisting it is wrong to treat someone poorly just because they are different. Continuing their journey, Jin mutters that everyone in this new world seems messed up, but he offers Hakama a reassuring smile, telling her she is a good kid. when suddenly a massive foot slams down on the path right in front of them. Belonging to a giant blue-haired girl who stumbles forward, weakly asking for help. She trembles uncontrollably, her body swaying as she struggles to stay upright, before collapsing face first onto the ground, prompting Hakama to rush to her side. Jin calmly observes the unconscious stranger, his eyes carefully assessing the situation, noticing she is covered from head to toe in dirt and fresh bruises. His gaze sharpens as he spots a strange mark near her ear, a detail that gives him pause. This girl lies completely still on the path, her condition looking dire, prompting Jin to remark that her injuries are far worse than they first appeared. Hakama gently cradles the girl's head, desperately asking if she is all right, so Jin steps forward, his hand glowing with energy as he offers to heal her. At that very moment, the injured girl's eye snaps open with startling speed, and she glares at him with a sharp command, telling him not to move a muscle. A blue-haired bandit holds Hakama at knife point, threatening to kill her if Jin moves. Jin towers over the scene, watching the desperate hostage situation unfold before him, and with a calm expression, he simply acknowledges the dire situation. This bandit smirks, declaring that they have walked right into her well-laid trap, which means the rest of the ambushers must be hiding very close by. Just then, a shimmering, invisible form materializes on the path ahead of them, revealing the bandit leader, who congratulates his subordinate on a job well done. He stands with his brutish crew, explaining they used a stealth camouflage technique, a nanomachine function that absorbs surrounding visuals to render the user transparent. Now surrounded, the leader questions Jin's origins, mocking his expensive-looking clothes, pressing a cold blade to Jin's throat and ordering him not to move an inch. As the leader repeats his threat, Hakama cries out Jin's name in desperation, but her hand suddenly erupts with crackling teal holy power, shocking her captor, causing Jin to scream her name as his composure finally breaks. A terrified Hakama stares wide-eyed, her own power surging uncontrollably in the bandit's grip. This bandit leader taunts Jin, claiming his kind of power is not meant for fighting people, while Hakama panics as her holy power continues to surge completely beyond her control. Her captor's leader smirks, realizing he has hit a jackpot with a second holy power user, prompting a hulking bandit to ask if Jin has the same power, who gives a cryptic reply. Without warning, the large bandit delivers a powerful blow directly to Jin's midsection, following the punch with a brutal kick while sneering at the lesser species. This leader quickly intervenes, warning his subordinate not to damage the valuable merchandise. As the blue-haired captor expresses confusion, believing lesser species cannot have holy power, a horrifying realization then dawns on Hakama. These are not bandits, they are slave traders. This slave trader leader's hand crackles with golden energy, preparing to subdue his captives, and Hakama watches in terror, knowing capture means being sold into slavery. After a flash of light, Jin awakens in a dark cell, immediately calling out for Hakama, who jolts awake at his voice, completely disoriented by their new surroundings. He immediately asks if she is all right, and she shakily confirms she is unharmed. So Jin peers through the bars, seeing other captives in cages and wondering where they are. Jin surveys their grim surroundings, identifying this prison as the bandits' main hideout, and he sees that all the crew's victims are brought to these miserable cages. These other captives are covered in dirt and wounds, their spirits clearly broken by their ordeal. A terrified captive trembles in her cell, another victim of the same ruthless crew. Inside their own cage, Hakama sits across from a strangely calm Jin, questioning his lack of a shirt, which he explains the bandits took because it was unusual. His complete lack of concern unnerves her, but he simply dismisses it as normal for him. More importantly, she demands to know why he did not even try to resist them during the ambush. Jin's cold gaze confirms her suspicion. He could have ended the fight at any time. Just then, their captors appear in a nearby doorway, ready to deal with the new prisoners, and both of them turn as the blue-haired bandit from before approaches their cell. But instead of a threat, she carries a tray of food, noting that they are awake. Hakama glares with fury, but the girl simply states she accepts her captive's hatred for this. She does not expect forgiveness for her actions, her expression filled with deep regret, leaving Hakama completely stunned by this unexpected display of remorse. Inside their new prison, Jin calmly tells the blue-haired bandit that she is too kind, but his words only seem to enrage her as she calls him scum in utter confusion. And he advises her not to waste time worrying about being hated or forgiven. Now standing, Jin is caged alongside both Hakama and the young bandit. With immense force, he grips the bars of their prison, testing their strength, leaving the bandit to watch in disbelief, her expression a mix of shock and fear. Turning from the bars, Jin calmly faces her, causing the girl to flinch in surprise, and he reveals he was waiting for this moment so they could speak without being overheard. Jin then turns the tables, asking where her own loved one is being held captive. Explaining it was simple deduction as a glowing energy emanates from his hand. He reveals that her injuries were genuine, which was the first clue something was amiss, noting that even bandits would not intentionally harm their own just to set a trap. He therefore deduced she is only following orders because her comrades are holding someone over her. This bandit's pained expression confirms his theory, her desperate situation now exposed. And she finally confesses the truth. The bandits are holding her little brother hostage. In a flashback, the blue-haired girl recalls being threatened by slavers, a cruel ultimatum that would separate her from her sibling forever. She remembers her desperation, forced to make an impossible choice to protect her brother. This tragic past is the reason she is now a bandit, a fact that shocks Hakama. Jin's expression hardens with contempt, labeling them all as nothing more than scum. Hakama asks if he let himself be captured to save her, and he admits it was part of his plan, comparing these kinds of people to stubborn stains that are difficult to remove. He explains that if even one escapes, they will simply regroup and continue their wicked ways. And as a guard outside hears a noise, Jin's voice echoes his grim philosophy. Suddenly, the cell door explodes inward, sending the guard flying across the room. Jin stands in the shattered doorway, his presence utterly overwhelming the fallen bandit. He declares that to truly solve the problem, you must eradicate it from the very root. His mind flashes back to a neon-lit city, a time when he knew this kind of evil all too well, showing a younger, battle-worn version of himself standing amidst the urban glow, a time when he was celebrated as a hero who fought for justice. He recalls his past, standing alone on a cold, futuristic city street. Where as a bruised boy, he came to a harsh realization that a world demanding justice is simply a broken one overflowing with the kind of trash that preys on the weak. A thug holds him by the collar, mocking the idea of a simple life, but the environment he was raised in never allowed for that choice. So instead of backing down, he resolved to crush them all, leaving a trail of defeated criminals in his violent wake. He fought relentlessly, dismantling every lowlife who crossed his path. Taking on thugs in back alleys and powerful men in lavish halls alike, his brutal crusade continued, leaving him sitting atop a pile of his foes. Then one day, a man in a lab coat approached the aftermath of his work, looking down at the young vigilante with a thoughtful expression. This man reached out, telling Jin he was simply born in the wrong world. Back in the present, Jin drags the unconscious guard away, his past fueling his every move. Two Beastmen guards try to block the hallway, demanding the intruder halt immediately. But inside, a room is already filled with defeated bandits asking what he wants from them. Another dazed guard slumps against a wall, questioning how anyone could have gotten in so easily. Jin simply offers a chillingly calm smile, his work just beginning. He moves like a blur through the hideout, effortlessly tossing another guard through the air, closing the distance to the next bandit with blinding speed before they can even react. His opponent's face contorts in pure terror, witnessing his comrade's swift defeat, prompting the fallen man to ask what kind of being is standing over him now. This terrified guard can only stare up from the floor, completely at Jin's mercy, when a sudden scream echoes through the prison, alerting the captives to the commotion outside, causing the blue-haired bandit to recognize the sound with a look of utter shock. She desperately asks Hakama about Jin's identity, who calmly calls him a guardian god, her own expression full of faith as she assures everyone they will be fine if they trust him. Taking charge, Hakama rallies the other prisoners to follow Jin's plan and escape the hideout, while the blue-haired bandit realizes brute force is useless against his immense holy power. This terrified slaver leader holds up a hand, desperately begging Jin to wait. While Jin interrogates another bandit, the leader frantically offers him money, and a greedy smile spreads across his face as he suggests another possibility. He points toward a cage of captive children, sickeningly offering them as slaves, a vile offer that includes the blue-haired bandit's own little brother locked inside. Jin's expression remains utterly cold, unmoved by the slaver's desperate bargaining. And with the other bandits already defeated, he coldly asks if the leader is done talking. This slaver looks on in utter confusion, completely bewildered by the situation, realizing with dawning horror that his own powers refuse to activate in Jin's presence. This man questions what kind of ability could possibly nullify his own spirit arts, but Jin calmly dismisses him as nothing more than a half-baked thug, explaining that truly dangerous people know when to flee a losing battle. He continues his lecture, stating that cowards always underestimate their targets, convincing themselves of their superiority until the moment they start to lose. And with that final insult, the slaver scrambles to his feet and makes a run for it. This slave trader leader slams a lever, declaring this fight is not over yet, and he stands before a massive, rattling door ready to unleash his final gambit. Behind the bars, a hulking demonic beast roars, its power shaking the entire room. Jin glances back as the leader reveals this monster, a corruptor, was a special acquisition. With a crash, the corruptor shatters its cage, its single red eye fixed on Jin, while a cruel smirk spreads across the leader's face, confident in his monstrous trump card. This beast towers over Jin, ordered to unleash its full destructive power upon him. Its colossal fist swings down with incredible speed, aiming to crush Jin completely, but the devastating blow is stopped dead in its tracks. Revealing Jin's glowing eyes, his expression completely unfazed by the attack, he holds back the monster's immense strength with a single, outstretched arm, leaving the slave trader leader to stare in utter disbelief, his confidence shattered. Effortlessly, Jin shoves the beast back, explaining he was born with a superhuman body. His physique contains far more muscle fibers than any normal human could ever possess. And with that immense power, he drives his fist straight into the corruptor's chest. Jin declares that when facing corruptors, there is no reason to hold back his power, unleashing a devastating beam of holy energy that completely vaporizes the monster, leaving the slaver leader to stare in disbelief at the glowing dust of his trump card. His shock turns to terror as he realizes Jin also wields holy power, and our boy calmly asks the last conscious Beastman what his next move will be. Frozen in fear, the guard can only stammer, sweating under Jin's unwavering gaze. He desperately tries to bargain, asking if there is any chance he will be spared. But a single, decisive punch is the only answer he receives from Jin. With the immediate threats neutralized, Jin calmly retrieves his coat and puts it on, standing fully dressed once more as the defeated slaver leader watches from the floor. He then turns to the caged children, apologizing that their rescue must wait a moment longer, whose faces light up with tears of hope and relief at his promise of freedom. First, Jin needs to secure evidence, stating that proof of their crimes is what truly matters, and inside a wooden box he discovers not only documents but a strange set of keys. His expression hardens as he reads the papers, sensing a much deeper corruption at play. After the fight, Jin finds a document left behind by the slavers, written in an unknown language. And a confident smirk crosses his face as if he understands its contents completely. But the confidence is a bluff, as he admits he cannot read a single word of it. Deciding he will need Hakuma's help later, he turns his attention to the defeated slaver, kneeling to examine glowing shards on the floor, questioning their motive for capturing a corruptor. To find answers, he places a hand over the remnants, activating a unique ability, revealing the shards are actually nanomachines whose camera footage he can now access, and data streams around him, a week's worth of stored footage ready for review. Through the recording, he witnesses a conversation between the slavers and their client, where the slaver leader questions their mysterious, cat-tiered employer about the strange capture. This client simply dismisses him with a sinister smile, offering a cryptic warning. He promises that something perfect and interesting is about to unfold in this very country. Back in the present, Jin's expression hardens as he absorbs the gravity of this conspiracy, his mind turning to the unsuspecting town that is now clearly in danger, where innocent civilians go about their day, completely oblivious to the plot against them. Back in town, the captured bandits are being rounded up by official-looking guild staff. When the blue-haired girl suddenly gasps, hearing a familiar voice call out to her, it is her little brother Nino running towards her with Jin right behind him. Overcome with emotion, she rushes forward to meet him in a tearful reunion, and the two siblings share a desperate, relieved embrace after their long ordeal. She tries to thank Jin for this miracle, but he simply tells her not to worry about it. Then his attention shifts to the authorities who are now handling the cleanup. Hakama explains that she called in the local guild to arrest the remaining slavers. An imposing horned man is overseeing the operation, identified as the town's guildmaster, his sharp eyes taking in every detail of the scene before him with a serious gaze. Jin directly approaches the man, confirming he is the one in charge of this situation. Introducing himself as Padraic, the guildmaster formally thanks Jin for his immense help. But beneath his polite exterior, Padraic carefully sizes up the mysterious stranger, his instincts screaming that despite his unassuming appearance, Jin is anything but ordinary. This guildmaster knows this man is not normal, especially since official requests to stop the bandits had gone unanswered. This horned guildmaster explains that the local lord lacks the authority to order captures, since that responsibility falls to the guild staff who are sworn directly to the king. He clarifies that even a lord's crimes must be reported to the highest authority, leading Jin to compare the lord to a mayor and the guild to a police force. This name of the Lord Shapian brings a sinister, cat-eared man to Jin's mind, and just then the guild master presents a scroll recovered from the bandits, his eyes widening in shock as he realizes it is a list of all their business partners. With this document, they can round up every single collaborator one by one. But the Lord's name is conspicuously absent, confirming to Jin just how cunning he is. Setting that aside for now, his attention turns to the freed siblings standing before him, and he asks the guild master what will become of all the former captives. While those with families will be returned, there is nothing the guild can do for the orphans. Remembering the siblings lost their parents, Jin asks if there are any shelters for them. This guild master grimly replies there are none, only the possibility of finding them work. But even that will be difficult as their status as a lesser species limits their options. Jin sighs in frustration, disgusted by the casual prejudice against so-called lesser species, and he wants to help the siblings but knows they have nowhere safe to go. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes him, his eyes widening with a sudden realization. He asks the girl if she has a place in mind, and she eagerly confirms it. While a confident smirk spreads across Jin's face as he confirms he does too, our boy thinks of the perfect person to take them in, an armored elf he knows, and the scene shifts to the Grand Argus estate in the royal capital. Inside, a blonde elf knight is suddenly struck by a strange and unsettling sensation. His companion asks what is wrong, but he dismisses it as just a sudden chill. Having just returned from a long and arduous journey on horseback, this knight dismounts, handing off his travel bag as he finally arrives home, instructing the rest of his expedition party to take a well-deserved rest. He then strides confidently through the doors into the grand hall of his estate, where the entire staff bows in unison, formally welcoming home Sir Argus. A senior attendant approaches, asking if his trip had anything out of the ordinary. Elsewhere in a lavish hall, a concerned butler and a cat-eared maid look on nervously. When a blond man in ornate armor smirks, sensing a disturbance has just occurred, this butler approaches him, apologizing for the interruption, but the armored man dismisses his concern. Leaning in close, the butler whispers some urgent news into his ear, while a mysterious woman with long hair watches their departure from a balcony above. Her expression cold and calculating, clearly displeased with this turn of events. After hearing the full report, the blonde man simply thanks the butler for the information, but his calm demeanor shatters as he realizes the situation is far worse than he imagined. He learns that corruptors are now running rampant in the capital itself, causing utter chaos, concluding with dawning horror that this was not an accident, someone let them in deliberately. His suspicion immediately falls on Harnisk Academy, a fortified school that refuses all outsiders. Meanwhile, Jin decides he will need allies for the fight ahead, starting with these children. 3 days after the raid, he leads the siblings on a journey through the mountains. This young girl worries if someone like her can find work in the capital, but Jin tells her not to worry, reassuring her that with her skills in reading and math, a job is absolutely certain. Filled with renewed hope, the blue-haired girl agrees to trust in Jin's plan, and soon after, Hakama points ahead, spotting the capital city in the distance. Our boy takes in the sight, their long journey finally nearing its end. As before them lies the capital, a massive, sprawling city nestled in the hills. Upon entering, they find the city streets are alive with people under a vibrant sky, and the entire group is amazed by the bustling energy of the capital. Hakama explains the city is a major trade hub, importing goods from all over the world. Even her own village, Kodama, sends merchants to sell their unique wares here, while Jin's attention is drawn to the diverse population, including insectoid people. This city is a true melting pot of cultures, with even fishfolk among the residents. Despite the crowds, the streets are surprisingly clean and the markets are thriving. And public order appears to be well maintained, with children playing without a care. Yet Jin's expression darkens, sensing the problems that fester beneath the surface, revealing a darker side where people are held in squalid, prison-like conditions. He knows such corruption and suffering are a timeless plague in any society. Jin casually asks about the academy's entrance exam, learning it is only a week away, which means enrollment begins immediately after, sparking an idea for Hakama's future. Nearby, a haughty noblewoman scoffs at the very thought of lesser species attending. Later that evening, the group finally settles into a quiet inn for the night. His freed siblings joyfully leap onto the beds, celebrating their newfound safety, and Jin watches them, glad they finally have a proper place to rest. Having reached the capital as planned, he now contemplates his next move in this era. His first thought is practical, realizing he needs money to survive here. This reward for defeating the bandits is a start, but it will not last long with more mouths to feed, and he still feels responsible for finding a future for the two orphan siblings. He considers seeking out a certain armored man for help but lacks the connections to reach him, leaving Jin to carefully weigh his limited options and the challenges ahead. His first course of action, he decides, will be to research the corruptors of this time. Remembering how the cat-eared lord and the slavers were trying to exploit them for their own gain, staring out the window, he resolves that such dangerous plots cannot be left unchecked. Jin's expression is resolute, his mind now set on a clear course of action, vowing to prevent this era from suffering the same tragic fate as his own time. To start, he asks Hakama how people typically find information in this world. She explains that books are a luxury, often shared within communities like her village, but then remembers the capital has a public library perfect for his research. This sparks an idea in Jin's mind as he considers the convenient new possibility, hoping it might even hold clues leading to Kagura's abandoned research labs. But upon arrival, a librarian immediately shuts him down, denying him entry. She explains the books are considered national property, not for just anyone to browse. With access strictly restricted to academy students, faculty, and resident nobles only, a much bigger problem suddenly dawns on Jin. He cannot even read the language yet, and though Hakama has been teaching him, he is still far from being fluent. Frustrated by this dead end, he suddenly spots two familiar figures in the street, recognizing them as the other lesser species captives from the slavers' camp. With a new plan quickly forming, Jin calls out to get their immediate attention. A cat-eared man suddenly attacks, throwing a confident punch right at Jin's face, but Jin effortlessly catches the fist, his expression completely unfazed by the assault. He dryly remarks on the city's supposed public order while holding the man's hand in place, and the attacker simply calls it a misunderstanding as his hand begins to glow with power. Jin's eyes narrow, sensing the strange energy crackling from his opponent's fist. And a brilliant flash of light erupts from their point of contact in the middle of the street. This sudden burst of power startles nearby civilians, who look up in shock and awe, earning Jin a compliment from the cat-eared man for his sharp perception. Nearby, the siblings realize with horror that the men are using holy power so openly. This attacker then reveals their client considers Jin an eyesore and wants him gone, confirming Jin's suspicion that these men were hired to deal with him specifically. A small smirk forms on his face, realizing this confrontation actually saves him time. His opponent offers him a chance to leave the capital and avoid further trouble, but then the cat-eared man lunges forward again with another aggressive strike, only for Jin to stop the second punch just as easily, leaving the attacker stunned. Jin effortlessly flips an attacker, grabbing the man's arm with a cold expression. This assailant gasps in pain, completely overpowered by Jin's sudden move, and his enraged, fox-eared companion declares the fight is on, gathering fire in his hands. He unleashes a powerful blast of flame directly at the unmoving Jin. This fiery explosion engulfs the street, seemingly incinerating its target, while the attacker smirks, confident in his overwhelming victory. But through the smoke, Jin emerges completely unscathed, reaching for his shocked opponent. Grabbing the man by the collar with impossible speed and strength, Jin easily stops his punch, telling him to come back when he is actually a threat, his eyes glowing as he dares the man to even try again. This fox-eared man trembles in terror, realizing Jin is no mere lesser species. Suddenly, a sharp voice orders them to stop, freezing the confrontation in place. An annoyed city guard with dog-like ears arrives, upset her day off is ruined. And she threatens to throw every single one of them into a cell for brawling. Jin smirks to himself, revealing this public disturbance was all part of his plan. An armored knight with dog ears points accusingly, recognizing one of the people before her. In the middle of a crowd, she confronts Jin over the defeated men on the ground, and a vicious smirk spreads across her face as she sizes up the entire situation. With her spear aimed, she accuses Jin of causing trouble right after arriving in the capital. Her insults continue, mocking him for not knowing his place as a lesser species, but a rabbit-eared woman steps forward, explaining the men on the ground were the aggressors. This unexpected testimony leaves the dog-eared knight momentarily stunned and confused, while one of the defeated men on the ground seems to recognize her as well. Kneeling down, she identifies the troublemakers as students from the notorious Harnisk Academy. A wave of frustration hits her as she worries that a certain lady might be involved. Dismissing her own words, she orders the students to be taken away, turning back to Jin. Our boy coolly remarks that he thought patrolling was the guild's job, not the Holy Knights. She explains they simply help keep the peace, admitting she was just looking for food nearby. Yet despite her casual explanation, her sharp eyes betray a deeper assessment of him. She internally admits that Jin is incredibly strong, having easily defeated a powerful academy student. This dog-eared knight warns him to stay out of trouble before turning to leave, but Jin stops her, asking for a favor to show him a certain place. She looks back in surprise, questioning his sudden and mysterious request, and soon they find themselves standing before the Grand Argus estate. Inside, Jin makes a bold proposition to the man in charge: hire them. This blonde man is stunned as Jin reminds him of his earlier offer of help. Noticing that Jin's group has grown since their last encounter, our boy explains he ran into the bandits they were warned about and freed the children, confirming he dealt with the criminals and left the rest for the guild to handle. This revelation shocks the blonde man, who realizes Jin took on the bandits alone. When asked about the siblings, Jin reveals they are orphans with nowhere to go, feeling it is his duty to at least help them find work in the capital. This knight argues he has no obligation, but Jin insists it is just his way, stating with conviction that he never does things by halves and will protect them. His unwavering resolve leaves both the knight and the blonde man completely speechless. His siblings look on with bright, hopeful eyes, their future finally looking secure. As Sir Argus offers them a safe place to live and work within his grand estate, his offer, however, comes with a very specific condition directed at Jin, asking our boy to serve as an instructor, a request that catches him off guard. Soon after, the children are dressed in fine new clothes, absolutely thrilled with their new life, and even Jin cannot help but approve, remarking how well the outfits suit them. This grateful girl bows deeply to Sir Argus, who humbly dismisses her heartfelt thanks. Turning to his staff to order the children be educated without any discrimination. With the children now safe, Jin and his group prepare to depart with Argus, but our boy immediately questions the ulterior motive behind the instructor job offer. This blonde knight admits he knows nothing about Jin but decides to ask a favor anyway, a dangerous mission to infiltrate the heavily fortified Harnisk Academy. This sudden request leaves Jin completely stunned, demanding to know what Argus means. So the knight explains the nation is being torn apart by factions vying for control. He reveals the king is gravely ill, and a shadow war for succession has already begun. Meanwhile, a shadowy cabal plots their next move, aiming to save the country their own way, and the blonde man learns they are using corruptors, dragging innocent people into their schemes. Jin realizes the corrupt lord is not the only threat he needs to worry about now. He knows these dangerous people are operating from the shadows, hidden within the capital itself. All signs point to Harnisk Academy as the most suspicious location, a fact Jin confirms. With their target identified, the knight knocks firmly on a grand door ready to enter, explaining that an ally inside will help them navigate the academy's grounds. Inside, they meet his younger sister, Miria Wilton, a student at Harnisk Academy. Her brother begins the introductions, presenting Jin and the young girl to his sister. But Miria immediately scoffs, questioning why a lesser species is being trusted with this mission. This knight furiously calls out her prejudice, but she remains completely unapologetic, calling Jin a mere country bumpkin unfit for such an important task. Our boy just smirks at her blatant prejudice, while her brother quickly apologizes for her words. He explains to the dog-eared knight that Miria's bias is severe, though she retorts he is no better. Snapping her fan shut, Miria demands to know if her brother truly understands the situation. A noblewoman explains his new role is not just infiltration, he will also have to be a teacher, and she scoffs at the idea of a lesser species being an instructor, questioning his talent. Jin quietly admits his illiteracy, a critical weakness he is trying to hide from her. Hearing which, the woman dismisses him as completely unqualified for the position. But Hakama passionately defends him, insisting Jin has much to teach them all. This two of them lock eyes in a tense, silent challenge over his capabilities. She reluctantly concedes he is at least strong enough to keep the students in line, but immediately adds that brute strength alone does not make someone a teacher. Nearby, a blonde man in armor sighs in frustration at the whole ordeal. While the dog-eared knight realizes with annoyance that the troublemaking student was her responsibility. Apologizing for the incident, the armored man assures Jin he will handle the student. So Jin cuts to the chase, asking what exactly they want him to teach spirit arts. This blonde man explains he witnessed Jin's impressive skill with them during the street brawl, and when Jin presses for details, he is told he only needs to cover the basics. This curriculum covers 4 elements, with proficiency in just 2 being more than enough. Jin confirms the simple curriculum, leaving the blonde man stunned by his confidence, and the knight asks about rare special spirit arts, a term Jin does not recognize. Remembering truly exceptional warriors from his own time, Jin finds this era's standards amusing, and a confident smirk spreads across his face as he accepts the challenge without hesitation. Gathering crackling energy, he vows to shatter this world's understanding of what is possible. 1 week later, the day of the Harness Academy entrance exam finally arrives. Outside the grand building, new students register for their chance to enroll in the prestigious school, while inside, a young girl with large ears focuses intently on her written test. Meanwhile, Jin and the blonde knight are escorted through the academy's halls by an official, where an older cat-eared man greets them, acknowledging the holy knight's busy schedule. But Jin interrupts, placing a hand on the knight's shoulder to get his attention. This knight explains that each year a squad sends a special instructor, and this time it is their turn, prompting our boy to question if he is truly the right person for such an important position. His sharp eyes reveal a deeper calculation, assessing the situation beyond their words. And this direct question leaves the cat-eared official in silent, thoughtful contemplation. A cat-eared staff member leads them through a grand doorway, gesturing them forward, announcing that the headmaster of Harness Academy is waiting for them inside. This woman's expression is stern and calculating as she sizes up the newcomers. Sir Argus greets her with a respectful bow, acknowledging their shared history. She recalls his time as a top student, remarking on how much he has grown since graduating. He humbly accepts her praise, stating it is his duty to lend his strength. This headmaster's gaze sharpens as she admits to hearing plenty of rumors about him, noting he has been dragged into both the fight against corruptors and the nation's factional struggles. Her expression turns serious, understanding the gravity of the political situation. And her sharp eyes reveal she knows more than she is letting on about the Academy's secrets. All the while, Jin remains silent, carefully observing the tense exchange. This atmosphere in the room grows heavy with unspoken political implications, until Jin breaks his silence, offering a simple but firm reassurance. Sir Argus immediately vouches for him, declaring Jin is more capable than his entire squad, especially when it comes to his unparalleled skills in direct combat. This academy's headmaster reluctantly accepts the proposition, her expression unreadable. But a wolf-eared instructor immediately objects, shouting his disapproval to the headmaster. He furiously argues that this prestigious academy has never allowed a lesser species to teach, his rage boiling over as he accuses them of trying to disgrace the entire institution. This headmaster calmly turns to another official, Lord Ludman, asking for his thoughts on the matter. And this cat-eared lord agrees, explaining that most of their students come from noble families. He warns that such a decision would cause an immediate backlash from students and teachers alike. So the headmaster gestures calmly, admitting that she actually shares their concerns, but then turns her gaze to Jin and the knight, deciding to hear from them directly. In response, Jin takes a single, confident step forward to address the room, formally introducing himself with a slight bow as Jin Shido from Kodama village. This headmaster notes his calm demeanor, admitting she understands the council's reservations. So Jin poses a sharp, piercing question about the true reason for their prejudice, asking if the problem is his species or a genuine lack of ability to do the job. With a knowing smirk, she confirms that only ability truly matters, not his background. This noblewoman demands proof of his abilities, challenging him directly. Sir Argus proposes a test, leading them to the academy's vast training grounds. A cat-eared instructor explains the campus is nearly empty due to entrance exams, adding with a smirk that at least their little test will not draw a crowd. Our boy remains completely unfazed by the man's condescending tone. In the center of the arena, the instructor lays out the simple rules. Jin must fight him. Confirming the arrangement, the noblewoman agrees this is the quickest way to judge him. But a group of students has already gathered, whispering about the mock battle, one of them noting she has never actually seen their instructor, Gita, in a real fight. Jin sighs internally, finding this entire display completely pointless. From the sidelines, a group of nobles watches with disdain, curious to see a lesser species perform. Sir Argus, however, looks on with keen interest, eager to see Jin's true power unleashed. Recalling the common belief that lesser species are physically weak with negligible holy power, he hopes his judgment about Jin's potential was not a mistake as the instructor asks if he is ready, and a vicious smirk spreads across the instructor's face as the battle is about to begin. This instructor opens with a massive fireball, shouting that he will make the first move. But Jin effortlessly sidesteps the blast, which detonates harmlessly against the far wall, leaving the onlooking students completely stunned by his incredible speed and composure. With a condescending smirk, the instructor notes the audience ready to put on a show. He gathers crackling lightning in both hands, preparing a far more serious attack, unleashing a storm of electrical energy that completely surrounds our boy. all while taunting him, questioning how a lesser species could handle such power. This man boasts that he graduated at the top of his class from this very academy, declaring himself while enveloped in flame as someone far beyond Jin's reach. But our boy remains utterly unfazed by the flashy display, his expression calm. Jin internally laments having to use his true power against another person, but realizing he has no other choice, he prepares to end the fight quickly. A brilliant cyan energy begins to crackle and coalesce around his outstretched hand, as he promises to show his opponent just a small taste of what he can really do, and the sheer pressure of his aura shatters the ground, shocking everyone watching. Sir Argus stares in utter disbelief, a bead of sweat on his brow, while Miria looks on, stunned as the instructor lies defeated on the ground. This knight questions if Jin just manipulated gravity, a spirit art he has never seen before. And a smirk crosses Jin's face as he notes this academy has much to learn. He declares that his lesson is not just for the students, but for the staff as well, standing calmly over the crater left by his effortless attack. This enraged instructor glares back, pinned down by an invisible force, all from a simple, almost casual gesture of Jin's hand. This immense pressure forces the wolf-eared man to his knees, cracking the very stone beneath him. Demanding to know what just happened, he gets a simple answer from Jin: spirit arts. Gita furiously accuses him of using cheap tricks, refusing to believe such an art exists. But from the sidelines, the academy officials have clearly seen enough. This headmaster and Lord Ludman agree that this display absolutely settles the matter. Nearby, the spectating students are left completely speechless by the power they just witnessed. And even Miria realizes she just saw a legendary special spirit art in action. Miria struggles to understand, since lesser species are supposed to have no holy power at all. Her sharp gaze reveals a mind racing to comprehend the impossible reality she is witnessing. Jin calmly tells the fuming instructor to settle down, leaving Miria wondering just who he is. 1 week later, the academy's true purpose is about to be revealed to the new students. And in a grand hall, they learn the school exists to train warriors against corruptors. A stern warning echoes through the crowd: any student who falls behind will be expelled immediately. This headmaster then offers a glimmer of hope for those who manage to graduate, promising them a coveted chance to join the legendary ranks of the Holy Knights. From a balcony, a group of nobles observes the commoners, knowing only ability matters here. Suddenly, a hand reaches out to get Miria's attention in the middle of the ceremony, and a lion-eared young man named Laius greets her with a surprisingly casual wave. He suggests they should identify and befriend any high-ranking nobles among the new students, but his political scheming is cut short when he spots something unexpected below. Seeing Jin sitting among the teachers, he asks why a lesser species is with them. And Laius is left utterly stunned when Miria reveals the shocking truth about Jin's new position. A lion-eared noble is left speechless when asked for his thoughts on the matter, while Miria scoffs, dismissing Jin as nothing more than a lesser species. From a balcony, our boy looks down at the sea of students below, realizing this massive academy will be difficult to investigate without drawing attention. He feels the brutal stares of the prejudiced students, knowing he must first change their minds. To complete his mission, he has to be accepted, not stand out as a suspicious outsider. A new day dawns over the imposing academy grounds, his first as an instructor. Jin stands before the elite class as a teacher announces the resumption of spirit arts lessons, warning the students not to slack off, though he doubts the elites even care. But a smug grin reveals he has something else to add to his speech. He mocks the class for their poor attendance, questioning if they even want to be there. And a blonde noblewoman with a butterfly pin looks on, completely unimpressed by the lecture. Nearby, the wolf-eared instructor Gita sneers, revealing no one would waste time on a lesser species, proudly admitting he spread the word that Jin would be handling today's class. With a condescending smirk, Gita invites Jin-sensei to introduce himself to the empty room. Ignoring the near-empty room, Jin calmly introduces himself as their new instructor, announcing he will be teaching spirit arts for a while to the few students who showed up. This lion-eared noble Laius immediately challenges him, questioning if he is truly up for the task. Jin just smiles, coolly retorting that it is for them to decide for themselves. He even gives them permission to skip class if they feel it is a waste of time. But his expression suddenly hardens as he adds a single, crucial condition. Demanding a promise, he summons a brilliant cyan energy into his gloved hand. He explains that spirit arts are unique, capable of negating a corruptor's powerful regeneration, but warns this effect does not work on humans, only leaving permanent injuries instead. His eyes glow with intensity as he reveals the power was created for one purpose: to kill corruptors, and he pleads with them never to misuse such a dangerous and specialized ability. One student scoffs at the warning, arguing that power is simply power meant to be used, while a cat-eared noble mocks him for trying to lecture them on morality. These students begin to laugh, accusing him of being a weakling afraid of their strength. Jin stands before the jeering nobles, their disdain clear on every single face. Jin calmly surveys the few students who bothered to show up for his class, then issues a simple challenge: if anyone thinks he is weak, they should try him. A wolf-eared student scoffs as Jin tells him to use his strongest attack, promising with a confident smirk to leave forever if they can even injure him. This arrogant student grins, eager to take the new instructor down a peg, and summons a massive spear of holy energy, warning Jin it is too late to back out. Another student panics, fearing he will be caught in the blast, but Jin remains unmoved. Ignoring all warnings, the attacker unleashes his full power with a furious roar, launching the massive energy spear directly at the seemingly defenseless instructor. This attack detonates with incredible force, kicking up a massive cloud of dust and debris. And believing he has won, the student looks on with a triumphant, condescending smirk, but a thin needle of pure cyan energy suddenly materializes before him, zipping past his face at impossible speed and embedding itself in the wall behind. Leaving the student frozen in terror, the stone cracked just inches from his head. From the dust, Jin's glowing eyes reveal the truth. If he were serious, the fight would be over. Surrounded by cyan energy, Jin warns them that judging by appearances is a fatal mistake. This lion-eared noble Laya stares in shock, questioning if that was even a spirit art. He points out their hypocrisy, stating he is stronger than them despite being a lesser species. And with his power still glowing, he poses a question about what they should call him now. A confident smirk crosses his face as he gives them the only answer that matters: teacher. Turning to the class, he begins his lecture by asking about the conditions for activating spirit arts. His attention focused on the cat-eared student who attacked him, demanding an answer. Flustered, the cat-eared noble stammers that it is simply a matter of imagination, reciting the textbook answer about how imagination shapes holy power into an art. Our boy dismisses that notion, explaining imagination is not the true trigger for spirit arts. As cyan energy gathers in his hand, he reveals the key is accepting an art's wavelength. This new concept leaves the student baffled, as Jin explains there are 8 basic types, demonstrating the first of these wavelengths with a simple manifestation of fire, followed by the crackling, raw energy of lightning in his palm, and finally the gentle green glow of a healing art. Jin begins his lesson by demonstrating the 4 basic elemental spirit arts. Leaving the few noble students in attendance completely stunned by his knowledge, he then reveals the existence of advanced arts like gravity and light manipulation, even referencing the air pressure control he used in their previous fight, and finishes the demonstration with a complex spatial shielding technique. Gita shouts in disbelief, unable to accept that Jin can wield all 8 spirit arts, but our boy simply explains that imagination is the true key to their power. A confident smirk crosses his face as he prepares to begin the real lesson, finally announcing to the small class that their training will now officially start. Later, Jin walks through the academy's grand halls, his mind on his true mission, knowing he must continue his investigation into the school's hidden secrets. He observes the students, noting that everything on the surface appears perfectly normal, deciding he must search in places where students are forbidden to go. Just as his sharp gaze locks onto a familiar face watching him from a distance, and the noblewoman with the butterfly pin stares back, her expression unreadable. This noblewoman with the butterfly pin confronts Jin, demanding to know what he truly is. Admitting her own prejudice, she concedes he is clearly not just some lesser species. Her mind struggles with the impossibility of a commoner mastering all 8 spirit arts. Jin casually explains anyone can do it if they simply learn to switch wavelengths. But she scoffs, retorting that he would not be drawing so much attention if it were that easy. Deciding they need privacy, he leads her down a quiet academy hallway, emerging into a sunlit colonnade far from any prying eyes or ears. Once alone, she presses him again, demanding a straight answer about his identity. He offers a ridiculous story about sleeping for 100 million years, which she dismisses as a joke. So she tests his absurd claim, asking what he was doing all that time ago. And his expression hardens as he reveals a surprising truth: he was an agent. When she questions the unfamiliar term, he explains it as one who serves their country without question. With a grim look of experience, he recalls fighting more scum than he could ever count. A sudden flashback shows his life 100 million years ago, relaxing with his comrades, a team of soldiers in a briefing room planning their next mission on a tactical map. A memory flashes through Jin's mind, a tactical operation from his past life. He recalls the chaos with a strange sense of nostalgia for a world long gone, prompting the noblewoman to ask why he was sealed away, and he admits it was because he failed. His arrogance led him to believe he could handle everything on his own. But that hubris cost him everything, leaving only ruin in its wake. He explains he took this job because he might need her help, though she remains skeptical, and acting as her guide, Jin leads her through the academy's halls to a specific location. A dusty, forgotten room hidden away from prying eyes. She identifies it as a simple supply storeroom for the teaching staff. And our boy seems to agree, though his mind is clearly working on something else. His attention is suddenly drawn to a small owl statue on a dusty bookshelf, a detail that makes his eyes narrow with focused suspicion. Just then she reveals she has been investigating too, holding up a blueprint. Her map shows a large, unaccounted-for empty space right next to this very storeroom. And as she calls it suspicious, Jin reaches for the owl, realizing it must be a switch. A hidden bookshelf reveals a secret passage leading down into the academy's darkness. This noblewoman with the butterfly pin confirms his hunch about this place was correct, asking how he could possibly know something was hidden in all this dust. Jin points out a single, strangely clean spot on a shelf, crediting his experience. He tells her to wait outside, but she immediately insists on following him into the unknown, refusing to be underestimated even when he warns of corruptors and extreme danger. She proudly declares she is a top student, just as capable as her renowned brother. and with a small smile, Jin agrees to trust her judgment on this mission. He summons a ball of light, illuminating the treacherous stone steps as they descend, venturing deeper into the Academy's hidden underbelly with his art lighting the way. This passage opens into a menacing hall, making Jin wonder what monsters lurk here, prompting his new ally to ask if he has already identified any suspicious individuals. Our boy smirks, admitting it is a bit early to be making accusations on his first day, but his expression turns serious as he confirms he does have a suspect in mind, revealing he believes the influential Lord Ludman might be secretly involved. This headmaster's calm demeanor is revealed to be a front, hiding a much sharper mind. As he admits he intentionally let things play out, suspecting Jin was far from ordinary. Now in a hidden passage, the noblewoman with the butterfly pin admits she suspected Gita all along, whose transparent panic made him the perfect pawn for their secret investigation. With Jin lighting the way, they venture deeper into a vast hidden corridor beneath the school. This sheer scale of the underground complex leaves the noblewoman completely astonished. But Jin suddenly stops, his senses on high alert as his companion asks what he has noticed. His expression shifts to disbelief as he recognizes exactly what lies ahead. Before them stands a massive vault door, the entrance to one of Kagura's hidden research labs, a secret buried deep beneath the academy grounds that confirms his worst fears. A shimmering blue energy field confirms his suspicions. The door is protected by nanomachines, leaving his companion to stare in shock, unable to comprehend why such a facility is here. She asks if they can even get inside, to which Jin replies it requires an access key, but his determined gaze suggests he has a different kind of key in mind, and with a steady hand, he reaches for his collar, preparing to open the way. His companion realizes an access key was inherited, meaning someone at the academy holds it, but a determined look crosses Jin's face as he prepares his own solution, gathering energy in his palm. He places his hand on the vault, and the system immediately confirms his high-level access. With a heavy groan, the massive vault door begins to swing open before them. As they step through the entrance, Jin declares they will find the one trying to sow chaos, revealing a massive chamber where a terrifying, hulking creature is held captive. His companion stares in absolute horror, unable to believe such a thing was hidden beneath the school. Turning to Jin, she demands to know how he opened the door without a key, and his cryptic answer about being ancient finally starts to sink in. Stunned, she asks if he is truly a human from 100 million years in the past. Ignoring her question, Jin calmly walks past a caged corruptor, inspecting the hidden facility. Surveying the rows of cages, he notes that something about the scene feels very wrong, his eyes narrowing as he questions why all the captured monsters are so strangely docile. None of them are showing any aggression, simply sitting quietly within their cells. He even recognizes the corruptor captured by the bandits, just as eerily calm as the rest. Jin stares in disbelief at the monstrous corruptor sealed behind the gate, wondering how it got here. Realizing the truth, the noblewoman admits her brother was correct to suspect the academy all along, and she suggests they simply wait for the mastermind to reveal themselves, but Jin has other plans. Our boy declares they must first lock down the academy and eliminate all the corruptors inside. His companion argues this will let the mastermind slip away, but Jin asks what happens if the corruptors break loose, and a look of horror crosses her face as she realizes the students above would be the first to die. Jin points out that her own brother would prioritize the safety of the people over capturing the mastermind. Conceding he is right, she agrees, as Jin adds that he has a very bad feeling about the situation. Trusting his instincts, he decides to search for the lab's key code somewhere in the academy. He tasks her with finding Argus to seal off the school, placing his trust in her completely. And with their plan decided, he turns to begin his part of the mission alone. His attention immediately drawn to an ornate clock high on the wall, sensing something is off. Ascending a grand staircase, he hopes to find a clue that will unravel the entire conspiracy. While the intricate clock face seems to hold a secret, its hands ticking ominously. Elsewhere in the academy, other instructors go about their day, unaware of the impending crisis. Hiding in the halls, the humiliated, cat-eared noble Gita seethes with rage, as whispers of his pathetic defeat at Jin's hands echo around the academy. His reputation is in tatters, and he blames the lesser species for his downfall, vowing to expose the new teacher and reclaim his honor with a furious stomp. Suddenly, the headmaster appears, chiding him for creeping out the other students, and she dismisses his angry skulking as nothing more than a strange hobby. Changing the subject, she asks if he has seen the influential Lord Ludman anywhere, but Gita realizes the man has been missing since the entrance ceremony. This news troubles the headmaster, who needed to discuss class assignments with him, and her sharp eyes suddenly notice something amiss in the distance. A strange, dark energy crackles over the academy spires, a truly ominous sight. Meanwhile, the noblewoman with the butterfly pin frantically rushes up a dark staircase, bursting out of the secret passage and back into the dusty storeroom alone. She pauses to catch her breath, her expression filled with genuine panic. Determined to report to her brother when a voice suddenly stops her cold, Lady Wilton's eyes widen in absolute terror as she peeks from behind a wall. A familiar voice calls out her name, revealing the cat-eared Lord Ludman has found her, and she gasps as he greets her with a deeply unsettling, sinister smile. Meanwhile, Jin finds himself in a dark, high-tech hallway leading toward an ominous red glow. His expression is grim as he takes in the strange, hidden laboratory around him. discovering a massive pulsating red orb of organic matter hooked up to complex machinery, a grotesque heart-like device that seems to be unnervingly alive. He approaches a console, questioning if this monstrous creation is the work of Kagura, and upon accessing the terminal he searches for any information left behind, finding a hidden compartment containing a message cube and a nanomachine injector. Hoping for answers, Jin activates the cube, which projects a holographic message into the air. And a man in a lab coat appears, casually greeting him from the pre-recorded message. This recording explains this specific lab is located very close to where Jin first awoke, continuing on to say he was working on an incredible, top-secret machine here. He then reveals a key function of that machine is sealed within the nanomachine injector. This holographic scientist smugly reveals he knows the purpose of this top-secret machine. A look of shock crosses Jin's face as the message identifies it as a teleportation device. Our boy struggles to process the revelation, a teleportation device hidden beneath the school. His mind flashes back to the massive, tentacled corruptor held captive in the chamber, then to the grotesque, heart-like machine powering this entire hidden facility. This eerily docile corruptors sitting quietly in their cages also come to mind. Suddenly connecting all this to the strange clock he saw in the Academy's main hall, a device whose intricate design now seems far more sinister and complex. Standing before the console, Jin begins to piece together the horrifying truth, confirming the machine is indeed a teleportation device, a stunning revelation. This technology links two separate spaces, something his own era never managed to perfect. And if it is true, then the recent corruptor attacks in the capital are all connected. He questions if the monsters were all sent here through this very machine, meaning the corruptors gathered in the chamber were not captured but transported. This message concludes by revealing the pulsating heart is the power source, not the gate itself. Jin's eyes widen, realizing the machine before him looks different than he expected, and he questions what this grotesque, pulsating heart-like device could possibly be doing here. Just then, the ornate clock in the Academy Tower seems to activate something sinister. This red orb erupts with a blinding flash of energy, overloading the entire system. Caught in the blast, Jin shields his face from the intense, malevolent light. While back in the main chamber, the once docile corruptors awaken with a furious rage, their cages barely containing the monstrous energy now pouring from their awakened bodies. A massive beam of dark power erupts from beneath the Academy, signaling a catastrophe. Argus is warned of the emergency, but his calm expression shows he already knows, his gaze turning to the sky, recognizing the signs of their absolute worst-case scenario. Countless corruptors are unleashed from above, descending upon the unsuspecting Academy grounds. Meanwhile, Lady Wilton confronts Lord Ludman, questioning his suddenly grim and knowing demeanor. And he greets her with a chilling smile, confirming he has been waiting for her. Glowing with power, she furiously accuses him of being the mastermind behind the chaos, to which the cat-eared noble calmly admits she is right, having caught her snooping. Lord Ludman declares she is too late, prompting her to demand an explanation. He explains that today is the day their plan finally comes to fruition. Admitting her interference has forced him to accelerate his sinister timetable. A close-up on Lord Ludman's eye reveals his cold calculation. He identifies Jin as a major threat, just as troublesome as her renowned brother. Realizing the new teacher is far more dangerous than he first appeared, this villain correctly guesses that Jin has already discovered the secret passage, and he decides to eliminate this budding problem before it can grow any larger. Lady Wilton prepares to fight, gathering energy to stop him right here and now. Lord Ludman scoffs at her confidence, boasting that he has acquired an invincible new power, revealing two mind-controlled students who present him with a mysterious container. Her eyes widen in shock as he prepares to demonstrate this terrifying new ability. These two girls struggle under the weight of the strange vessel, a tool for his ascension. But her fear gives way to a steely resolve, refusing to back down from the fight. Meanwhile, the humiliated Gita breathes a sigh of relief, completely unaware of the danger. A confident student declares victory over a fallen teacher while her timid friend looks on in horror, when the noblewoman with the butterfly pin appears, demanding to know why they are looking for Jin. This new girl points to the chaos outside, explaining the situation is dire and they need his help. She clarifies that another student saw him enter this very building just moments ago. And Lady Wilton eyes the newcomer, who nervously introduces herself as Kudo Plusha. Kudo worries about the consequences of attacking a teacher, but her friend seems unconcerned, coldly suggesting they can just pin the blame on the country bumpkin if needed. At that moment, the sound of hurried footsteps echoes from a nearby stone passage, catching the aggressive student's attention as she turns sharply toward the noise. Jin emerges from the darkness, his grim expression demanding to know what happened here. His student rushes to his side, warning him of the chaos, but he already knows, revealing with cold fury that every single corruptor from the hidden lab has vanished. This horrifying truth dawns on Lady Wilton, her face paling at the terrible implication. With no time to waste, Jin leads them all in a desperate sprint toward the Academy exit, only to find the entire city below engulfed in flames and utter destruction. The streets below are a nightmare of chaos as corruptors descend upon fleeing civilians, and one monstrous foot shatters the stone streets, heralding a much larger threat. A truly colossal corruptor, glowing with internal fire, towers over the entire capital, And it is not alone, as another massive, tentacle-faced beast joins the city-wide assault. This tentacled horror erupts with raw power, its roar shaking the very foundations of the city. And Lady Wilton gasps in horror, realizing the attack is not just on the school but the entire capital. A wave of regret hits Jin, who blames himself for not destroying the teleporter on site, when suddenly Kyudo cries out his name, pointing desperately toward the sky above them. High above the city, the tentacled corruptor gathers a blinding sphere of destructive energy. Concentrating all of that devastating power directly within its gaping, monstrous maw, its glowing form takes aim, its target unmistakably the royal castle itself. This girls watch helplessly, knowing the royal family is directly in the monster's path. But taking full responsibility, Jin declares he will fix this, revealing the nanomachine injector. He activates the injector, channeling its energy to gain a simplified version of the teleporter's function. But the scientist's recording adds a critical warning: this incredible power can only be used once per day. A massive dragon-like corruptor unleashes a torrent of fire upon the burning city below, its fiery breath streaking directly toward the Academy's main tower, threatening utter annihilation. When a strange blue crystal suddenly materializes before the students, a game-like interface appearing. High above, Argus leaps through the air, narrowly escaping the massive explosion engulfing the Academy, while Jin activates a skill, revealing he can choose a teleportation destination for his entire group.